right, how's it going? Welcome to today's episode from Inc. We've all had one of those days where you feel like you don't matter, everything's going wrong, and no one is there to listen or relate. But here at Inc., you do matter, and here we can relate. Because for all of us, there's always a something, a one thing, or many things that can really affect the way we think and feel. We hope that today's conversation brings a little bit of hope to your day. And do make sure to stay connected by subscribing to the channel.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Inc. Today we start a series of conversations that I hope will inspire your day. I have in conversation with me today my friend Dan that I grew up with. We met on our very first day of school together. We went through high school, we lived together in university. Safe to say we've done a lot of life together. No matter what trial I go through, Dan is always the first person to pick up the phone and make sure that I'm okay. That characteristic of compassion and care came from his mum, who unfortunately Dan lost whilst we were in university together to a battle with cancer. Today in conversation we talk about grieving and how there's not one size fits all for whatever you're going through in a season of grieving. So check out the conversation and let me know what you think in the comments section.
Daniel Burt, how you doing, mate?
Nathan Beaton, I'm very good. I'm very well. Done my daily exercise for the day. Nice weather. Can't complain. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm a little bit anxious because this is such a weird conversation for us to be having for the world to see. We've known each other pretty much our entire lives since day one of school. And so it feels a little bit weird that we're having this for people to watch and listen to, but it's good. I think when I look back at our friendship, one of my best memories that I've got is we played a lot of football together. And I'll never forget, we were like 12 years old and the referee starts kicking off at you because you were swearing on the football field at 12 years of age. And your old man comes up to you at halftime. He says, "Oi, where do you think you got that from?" You turn to him and you say, "I got it from you." And he said, "Flipping right, you did." And I'll never forget that moment. Just comedy. And we've, as I said, had so many stupid moments together, highs and lows. You're always there for me as a mate. And one of the challenges that you've gone through in your life when we were living together in university is losing your mum to a battle with cancer. And so I just love us to talk about that today and look at that grieving process and everything that you went through in that. So let's go there. Let's look at it. So what was it like losing your mum at such a young age to cancer?
Obviously, it's a horrible thing to go through for anyone, really. But I suppose it's one of those situations that you can't plan for. You know, you see it on films, you see it on TV, and you sort of you never think it's going to happen to you. So when it does, it hits you like a ton of bricks, really. And then I suppose it's just you've got to front it. You're in that situation, you can't get out of it. And it's not, it's not just yourself going through it as well. You have got that support network around you. Myself, I've got great friends around me, family members, and my brother, in particular, was a rock throughout the whole process. But I suppose it was falling back on that network really to try and get me through it. But yeah, you've got to pull your socks up and get through it as best as possible. Really, I mean, it's not easy. There's no sort of magic wand you can wave to make it all go away. There's no manual you can read which gives you the do's and don'ts. You've just got to plod along and just see how you can get through it as best as possible.
Yeah, as you said, there's no manual, there's no one size fits all. I guess we're all individuals going through life, and we'll all tackle grieving for someone or grieving for something in a different way. So for you, what were the phases that you went through in that grieving process?
Looking back now, I'd cut it up into probably 3 phases. So obviously my mum died in the last year of uni. We were already sort of in a partying phase then anyway. But I suppose I just took it to the next level, going out a lot, drinking. In hindsight, probably not something that was great and ideal. But then following on from that, I went into sort of an isolation phase, which I wanted to keep myself to myself. I wasn't comfortable talking to people about anything. I was looking to blame people. And then the third phase, I'd say, which is probably the phase that helped the most, was then the sort of the offload, was working out the support network I had around me. There's certain friends and family members that you feel more comfortable talking with. So I think that was a vital sort of cog in the chain or wheel, whatever you call it. But it just so realizing those people I was comfortable talking with just meant I could have a little bit of an offload, and a bit of a vent, really. And that helped people like yourself as well. I've had hundreds of conversations with you about not just this scenario, but loads over the years. But just knowing you've got them additional support networks around you really helps. And even not even just your inner circle, really. It was quite nice knowing there's people outside of that who actually care about you. The amount of messages and just phone calls and things of people I haven't spoke to in years, just asking how I was really nice.
I got a question. You just sparked a question in my mind that I've never asked you before. What, in that moment, what did you want friends to do? Like, is there anything that you were like, I just want a friend to do this or say this? Was there anything in particular? Maybe not.
It's a good question, actually. I wouldn't necessarily say want. Like, I'd never ask anyone, to go out of their way for me. There's not necessarily, like I said earlier, there's no magic wand they can wave to make the situation better, because it's tough, regardless of who you've got around you. But I would say it's just the simple fact of knowing that there's people there if you want to talk. And like I was saying earlier, I went through that sort of isolation stage where I didn't want to talk, but it still was nice knowing when I was ready and when I was comfortable to talk that people were there. And that was good, actually.
Yeah, so good. I think going back to that thing that we're all different and we'll all deal with grieving differently. But if you're a friend next to someone going through it, just letting them know that when they're ready to open up and talk, you're there. I think that's probably such an important thing.
And looking back now, actually, just over the past sort of 5 years, it's probably something now which has helped me to help other people. We've had friends and family members who've lost loved ones over the past few years alone, and it's actually meant that I can offer that same support, as people did for me when I was going through it to them. So I suppose, it's kind of helped myself and others along the way, really.
Yeah, and I guess when you're in the thick of the grieving process, it's hard to envisage there being any sort of positive coming out the back of it. But would you say that would be a positive that came from this experience? Are there any positives? Obviously, we would all love your mum to still be here with us today, but are there any positives that came through that grieving process?
Well, I think the experience of going through something like this means that I am sort of capable, and I'm no expert in the field as well. I'm not trying to say that, but it means that I have got that experience of going through this. So where I can offer a support or a little word of advice, it means if it can help someone just a little bit along that journey, that's good enough for me, if I'm honest.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to get you through that journey. Were there any foundational things in your life that you feel like you were able to stand on? Because I've been having so many conversations lately that are like, oh, surely we have to have better foundations in our lives than just the clothes we wear, the car we drive, the house we own. Surely our foundations have to be a little bit deeper rooted than that. So were there any foundational things in your life that you feel got you through the grieving process?
Yes, I think I think being a child, and well, not obviously not now. Probably still am a bit of a child myself, but
Definitely still are.
but being a child to two parents, it means you sort of pick up traits from both parents, and I think there's traits which I'm definitely blessed to have had from both sides. So my mum, as she was a carer, and she couldn't have been more of a caring person really. When the boys come over the house, she was always filling their pockets with crisps, literally putting food on the table. Work ethic as well, which I would actually say is from both sides. So my dad and my mum, both my parents have got a massive work ethic, which is meant, they're always out trying to put, food on the table for us, myself and my brother growing up. And it's something that I saw, and, hopefully it's instilled in me now to this day. And I think that sort of given me a platform to get through this. And, it means you can't just give up. When the going gets tough, you've got to plod along and carry on going really. And both, again, probably something I've had a little bit mixed from both. My mum was always a bit of a prankster and a joker in work, as a lot of people would tell you. She's always playing pranks on the people she cared for. And I'm very similar in that myself. And my dad being the class clown that he is, I suppose that's where I get my my cheeky side from, growing up. So, but these are traits that have molded me into the person I am today, and helped me get through not just this situation, I suppose life situations really.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I think not only has it meant you've got through it, like you've been able to laugh through it, you've also cried through it, but you've been able to laugh through it, and you've been able to work your backside off to get through it and build a solid foundation in a career and your own home and all these different things. Not only has it got you through it, but actually, as you've said, you're able to turn this grieving process around to be a positive in your life, that you can reach out to others and carry on your mum's legacy of being a caring person. And I've told you before, and I'll tell you again, like, your mum would be so proud of who you are today and the person you've become. And yeah, it's amazing to see her legacy carry on through you, which is just awesome. Is there anything that, like, if you were next to a friend today and they were going through a grieving process themselves, and you were able to put your arm around that person today, is there anything that you would say to that person right now?
Well, unfortunately, I have had to do that over the past couple of years. A few close friends of mine have lost parents and loved ones, and I'm brutally honest to them. I tell them, look, this isn't going to be easy. I wish I could take the pain, from you, and because I know exactly what you're about to go through, and the next year or couple of years even is going to be really difficult. But I need you to know that you're not going through this on your own, and there is people like myself who've been through things like this in the past, and we can help you through it. And on the flip side as well is the people we have lost. They're not, yes, they're physically gone, but not gone, from our thoughts and memories. We've got traits and things that are always going to remind us of these people. So looking at some of the positives, in that aspect, we're actually quite lucky to have had some of these people in our lives. So I consider myself lucky to actually have had my mum in my life. Get a bit upset.
Good, man.
But and yeah, it's tough. It's not easy, but yeah, like I said, I do consider myself lucky to have had her there, and that's something I tell people who have got, going through similar things, we are actually lucky as well.
Yeah. Mate, it's amazing you're able to see that. You're able to see that just for that snapshot of time, you had your mum. She was an incredible mum, an amazing example. And just for that snapshot of time, that is some more than some others get, really, which is awesome. If there's anybody watching this and they're like, I just don't know if what I'm going through right now, the thoughts I'm thinking, I don't think they're normal. Like, what would you say? Is there a normal way to grieve? Like, what would be your last thoughts to that person?
I would just say, look, it's obviously horrible, but there is light at the end of the tunnel, and like I said earlier, you've got to just face it, face what's going on, grab whoever's around you, and do what you need to do, and whatever feels comfortable to you at that time, do it. So if you want a week just considering your thoughts to yourself, do that. But if you want to talk to someone, pick up the phone and talk to someone, because people will listen, and there are people who care and will be able to help you through it, really.
Awesome. Mate, I appreciate it.
No problem at all.
I hope you guys enjoyed today's conversation between myself and Dan. My heart behind these episodes is that you might go away with a little bit of hope, even in a season of grief. It's interesting that Dan went through distinct phases in the grieving process, some helpful, others not so helpful. But when he reached out to friends and family, he began to get closer and closer to the point of acceptance and healing throughout the process. Next week, we'll be looking at the stages of grief with a psychotherapist. We'll delve into each of the 5 stages of grief. But for this week, I just want you to know that how you're feeling is normal. It's normal to go through these emotions when you're in a season of grief, whether it's grieving for a loved one, a job, a friendship, whatever it may be that you're missing in your normal life right now. It's normal to be going through those feelings. Reach out to friends and family for support and help, and I'll see you next week.
Hi, you still watching? You must have something better to do by now. Seriously though, thanks so much for watching today's episode from Inc. Remember, we all have those days where you feel like you don't matter, everything's going wrong, and no one is there to listen or relate. But here at Inc., you do matter. Remember, here you're included in something. You're part of a community where you are included. We want to inspire your future and bring a little bit of hope to your day. And before we wrap up, please do subscribe and stay connected to Inc. so we can continue to give you content that delivers a little bit of hope. See ya.